Everyone, it's me, Ella, and welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas and New Year. This video was originally going to be a vlog for the January 6th sing-along at the Vaudeville Theatre that happened on Sunday night. However, I literally just got back 2 days ago, went to review some of the footage that I managed to get, and unfortunately I wasn't very happy with how the overall video turned out. Despite the lack of vlogging, however, I still wanted to do a video covering my experience going to the January 6th sing-along. So I've decided to turn it into a Theatregoing overview, which is exactly what we are going to be doing today. Just before we get into it properly, I would just like to point out a few things. Firstly, the horrendous pile of stuff that you can see on my bed in the background. There is a reason as to why all that stuff is there, and I shall be getting to that at the end of this video. Secondly, I am fully aware that I am wearing a Wicked Popular t-shirt when this video is going to be all about Six. So let's just ignore the Wicked t-shirt and crack on with this Six business. Just a little bit of context. When I got back from the August sing-along, I got home and I thought to myself, I want to buy another Six costume. So I did. I went onto Amazon and this time I ordered the Katherine Parr costume. Anyway, that turns up, I try it on, it's a perfect fit, everything's okay and everything is all good. A couple of days after said Katherine Parr costume arrives, I'm then considering going to another show with this cast before they finish. So there I was looking on the Six website for dates of when we could potentially squeeze in, and unfortunately there was no other date that worked best for me other than cash change day. So I tried and inevitably failed, may I add, to get in for the cash change matinee, which would have meant a double show day at 6 for my first time. Anyway, the Vaudeville got back to us and said that there were no seats left, so that was the end of that. I am, however, going to the big cash change send-off evening performance 7 o'clock that day, which will mark my first big evening send-off for cash change. So after hearing back from the Vaudeville and saying they had no matinee seats left, I thought to myself, fine, okay, we'll just leave it at that. I do, however, now have a Katherine Parr costume on my hands. What am I going to do with that? I thought to myself. So I thought, I know, I'll wear it to the January sing-along, which is exactly what I ended up doing. So that's enough background information. Let's get into the actual sing-along itself. When I arrived at the Vaudeville, there is always one thing that I have to do when I first set foot in the door every trip without fail, and that is to look at the cast board, because I always like to see which queens are performing. And when I saw the cast board, it said we would have Gabriella as Aragon, Thao as Boleyn, Caitlin as Seymour, Naomi as Cleves, Inez as Howard, and Janiq as Parr. I then went to the merch desk and bought something that I had had my eye on for quite some time actually, and it was these new 6 charms. Now, I believe these were actually released a couple of weeks before MusicalCon 2024. I could be wrong, but I am so glad to have them now. I do believe that you have to get a separate chain for these so that you can make your own bracelet or necklace with them. But let me just talk you through them. So the first one we have is obviously the 6 logo. Then we have the 6 boot. Then we have a crown. Which is kind of representative of the one that I would say the one that Aragon wears. Then we have a microphone down the bottom here. And next to it, we have the House of Holbein Rough Charm. Now, this one at the top next to the 6 logo, I originally thought that that was a letter B for Anne Boleyn, just because of the way that it was facing. But it wasn't until a couple of days after I bought them, actually, it might have been yesterday now I think about it, that I realised that that is not a letter B at all. That is actually a House of Holbein glasses charm to go with the ruff. But I was mistook by them because I mistook them for the letter B. But I think that it was just because of the way that it was facing. Because if you face them, that way, just like that, you'll be able to see that it is actually the House of Holbein glasses that are depicted in that charm, hence why you've obviously got the ruff to go with it. I cannot wait to add these to my own little 6 bracelet when I eventually get a chain to put them on. I'm sure that will look brilliant when it's done. And then the other thing that I bought from the merch desk was the new programme, because they've updated some of the photos because Caitlin Tipping has taken over as Jane Seymour. So I've gone and obviously bought the new programme as well. So that was that for my finds at the merch desk. However, I then went onto the stairlift to get into the auditorium, and it wasn't until the Queens walked out onto the stage that I then realised that the cast board had got it wrong and listed the wrong names. Because when the Queens walked out, Nikki Bentley was actually on as Aragon, and Gabriella Stylianou was actually on as Seymour. That is the first time in all my trips, all 19 of them, may I add, that the cast board has actually listed the wrong queen, or the wrong queens. Now, I don't know if that was just a little mishap with the cast board or whether that was a last minute change. So the actual cast that we did have for the sing-along was Nikki as Aragon, Thao as Boleyn, Gabriella as Seymour, Naomi as Cleves, Inez as Howard, and Janiq as Parr. All of the queens that were out there on Sunday night were absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved it, as I always do. I always love the sing-alongs. I highly enjoy them every time I go. However, what I will say that I was quite surprised at was that that was actually one of the quietest sing-alongs that they've actually had, I think, or at least one of the quietest sing-alongs that I have been to. Now, sing-alongs normally are much louder than what I experienced on Sunday night, but then again, that could have just been down to where I was sitting, because I was in row M for mother at the middle stroke back of the stalls. So the audience volume may just be down to where I was sitting. I'm not entirely sure. But based on my experience, I think other than Don't Lose Your Head and All You Want to Do and Six at the End, the show was relatively quiet. But then those three that I've just mentioned, Don't Lose Your Head, All You Want to Do and Six at the End, they were the ones for me that stood out as like normal sing-along level audience participation sort of thing, if you are understanding what I mean. But yeah, All You Want to Do, Don't Lose Your Head and Six at the End, they were the ones that were standing out to me as the loudest three songs in that sing-along in particular. But as I say, the Mega Six, I wasn't really sure on the audience participation volume, because as I have evidently mentioned before, I have to use the Mega Six to get on the stair lift and get out of the theatre and round the back to stage door to be able to meet the Queens at the end of the show. I can't really give you a verdict on the Mega Six audience volume because I wasn't in there. And then obviously at the end of the show, I obviously went and did stage door, which was absolutely brilliant. So I hope that has summed up my experience going to the January sing-along. Me personally, I think it was a bit quieter than usual, but as I was saying, Don't Lose Your Head, All You Want to Do and Six at the End were the big three standout numbers for me in terms of audience volume. All six of the Queens, absolutely amazing performances by all of them on Sunday night. I absolutely loved it and I had a wonderful time. So that brings this Theatregoing overview to a close. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as for the pile of stuff on my bed behind me, I can explain that. That is because tomorrow I am going to see Why Am I So Single?, the new musical by Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss, who wrote and composed Six. I am honestly so excited to see what they've been working on since Six. I'm sure it will be fantastic. Tomorrow, that definitely will be a vlog, so keep your eyes out for that, and I shall see you soon. Bye!